If you think COVID was bad, think again. The US is digging up something far worse. Buried beneath Greenland's melting ice are viruses older than the pyramids, and they're still alive.
Scientists found even more ancient viruses buried within the ice in the Tibetan Plateau. They had somehow managed to survive for 15,000 years.
These viruses were unlike anything scientists had seen before.
Worst case scenario would be that an old bacteria could show up again.
There is going to be so much misery, there is going to be so much violence. I think of those viruses and those bacteria like a machine gun. Climate change can pull the trigger.
The government says it's science, but unmarked planes and underground labs suggest something else. If these ancient viruses escape, it won't be a second outbreak. It'll be our last. Deep within Greenland, the ancient ice isn't just melting, it's waking up. Each year, teams in hazmat suits drill deeper, pulling up samples that haven't seen sunlight since woolly mammoths walked the Earth. Some say they're just scientists, searching for clues to our planet's past. But others whisper about classified missions and government agents, sealing off entire sections of the ice sheet, working through the night while the rest of the world sleeps. Why is the military flying in biohazard teams and unmarked crates under cover of darkness? What are they really looking for in these frozen crypts? Lost viruses, hidden bioweapons, or evidence of life not from this Earth? All the while, locals talk of drones buzzing overhead and warning signs posted where no one should go. Something is happening under Greenland's ice, and the truth is colder and stranger than you think. In 2014, scientists in Siberia revived a virus that had been frozen for over 30,000 years. It was still alive, and it infected living cells like nothing had ever changed. This wasn't a Hollywood script. This was a real peer-reviewed experiment. And since then, even older viruses have been pulled from the ice, some nearly 50,000 years old and still capable of infecting life. Now, turn your attention to Greenland, a frozen island the size of Mexico, covered in 660,000 square miles of ice, and home to some of the world's most mysterious scientific missions. The official story? Climate research, glaciology, environmental monitoring. But here's what they're not saying. Why are US military planes flying into a remote ice field with no public explanation? In 2022, strange cargo flights were spotted landing near isolated research outposts in northwestern Greenland. No flight numbers, no logos, just blacked-out manifests and armed guards patrolling the snow. Satellite imagery even picked up new construction, subsurface structures deep into the glacier, built with reinforced entrances and shielded antenna arrays. Nothing about it screams climate science. And then there's the biohazard gear. Multiple whistleblowers from international teams say American researchers show up wearing full hazmat suits, even when no pathogens are reported. What are they expecting to find? Some believe the US is quietly building a secure facility to catalog and contain ancient viruses thawing from the ice. Others think the goal is far darker, to weaponize what nature buried long ago. Because here's the thing, these viruses aren't modern. They predate agriculture, they predate cities. They're from a world untouched by man, and we have no natural immunity to them. Scientists call them zombie viruses, frozen in time, preserved like fossils. But now the ice is melting faster than ever, and these ancient plagues are rising with it. And while most of the world watches tropical outbreaks and urban pandemics, Greenland is thawing in silence, quiet, remote, hidden, just the way a secret operation would want it. Is this just science racing to stay ahead of nature? Or is the US preparing for something they know is coming, something we're not supposed to see? Because once you open a deep freezer, you can't put the monsters back in. In 2016, a strange outbreak hit a remote region of Siberia. Dozens were hospitalized and a child died. The cause? Anthrax, released from a thawing reindeer carcass that had been frozen since the early 1900s. That was the warning shot. A century-old virus reactivated by melting permafrost, and it killed. Now imagine what's buried from 50,000 years ago, long before humans understood disease, medicine, or survival. Greenland's ice is deeper and older than Siberia's tundra. If reindeer can carry deadly bacteria, what else is hidden in those ancient layers of ice? Researchers drilling into the glacier report finding microbial life in places no living thing should exist. These aren't just dead samples, they're active, resilient, and some are unlike anything found on the surface. And yet there are no public reports on what's been found in the most remote sectors of the US-funded Greenland Ice Sheet Project. The files are sealed, the findings redacted. Journalists who've tried to investigate were denied access. Scientists interviewed off the record say they've been warned to keep quiet, told it's for national security. But what's so dangerous about ice? Some believe the truth is bigger than viruses. A few researchers have hinted that unknown genetic material, potentially non-terrestrial, has been recovered from extreme depths. Others point to strange electromagnetic readings recorded during deep core drilling. Could this be why military presence is increasing? Not just to protect scientific teams, but to control whatever's been uncovered? The timing is suspicious, too. These secretive digs ramped up just as global interest in ancient diseases began to rise. But instead of sharing results with the world, Greenland has become a silent zone. There are whispers of containment failures, of entire drill sections being sealed off, then suddenly relocated without explanation. Whatever they hit under that ice, they didn't want it getting out. And if a virus is strong enough to survive for tens of thousands of years in pitch-black ice, it might not just be surviving, it might be evolving. Which raises a terrifying question. What if the ice wasn't just preserving life? What if it was trapping something? In 2023, a French virologist named Jean-Michel Claverie made headlines after reviving a virus from 48,500-year-old ice. It didn't infect humans, but it did infect living cells. That means it was still active, after nearly 50,000 years in a frozen grave. Claverie warned the world, this is just the beginning. As permafrost melts, it's not a question of if something dangerous is released, but when. And while much of this research is done in the open, Greenland is a different story. The US doesn't just fund projects here, it controls them. Access is limited. Findings are classified. Labs are underground, buried beneath layers of ice and secrecy. Why the need for such extreme isolation? Some theorists believe the US has already encountered a high-risk virus beneath the glacier. A virus with unknown DNA. A virus that doesn't match anything in modern databases. And here's where the mystery deepens. Certain ice core labs have begun working with military contractors, not universities. What kind of research needs both microbiologists and weapons specialists? A leaked internal memo from a defense research agency referred to biogenic threats emerging from subglacial anomalies. That's government speak for, we found something alive, and it's dangerous. If that's true, the US may be doing more than just studying these ancient viruses. They could be engineering them, tweaking genetics, testing outcomes, looking for traits like resistance, speed, and lethality. To the public, it's called gain-of-function research. To the conspiracy world, it's called playing God. And this raises the ultimate question. Is the US trying to prevent the next pandemic, or create something they can control? Some believe these viruses could be turned into perfect weapons, pathogens no one has immunity to, unleashed on enemies without ever firing a bullet. Silent, invisible, denied. Others suggest a darker possibility. What if these viruses aren't from Earth at all? What if something crashed here long before us, something buried deep, frozen until now? That would explain the secrecy, the military presence, the sudden spike in funding, and the warnings no one wants to say out loud. Because if what's under Greenland isn't just viral, but extraterrestrial, then we're not just unearthing the past, we're unlocking something we were never meant to touch. Greenland's ice is melting, but it's not just water pouring out. Beneath the surface, something ancient is stirring. Scientists say they're studying it to protect us. But if that's true, why the secrecy? Why the military presence? The hidden labs, the sealed-off zones. Some believe these viruses weren't just frozen by time, they were locked away on purpose, for our protection or as a warning. Now, with every inch of melting ice, we get closer to unlocking something we may not be ready for. So what's really going on in Greenland? A race to save the world, or a cover-up of what's already been found?